now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
All right, folks, good morning, part 2. We did it. It was kind of weird just now because when I restarted the feed, I saw that Facebook still didn't come up. Some kind of quirky thing. I had to do it twice. Anyway, we are live and direct on Facebook right now and YouTube. So thank you guys so much. Yes, it did occur to me that, in all honesty, I think some people are not able to access the Facebook feed, because quite a few people are messaging me saying, thank you, for different reasons. You know, some companies actually have Facebook blocked, but not YouTube, which is kind of weird to me, but, you know, whatever. So I don't want to disenfranchise our folks over on YouTube. So good morning to the YouTube crew. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sometimes the YouTube numbers are really getting up there. So I like to be inclusive, you know, of them. All right. So let me tell you what's going on. We're going to talk about the grave removal situation here in a second. So the police did name yesterday the young man who died in Friday's shooting. Of course, we knew his identity immediately. As it turns out, in the Cayman Islands, it's kind of one of those super quirky, interesting things. But when something happens to a Caymanian, this is the Mall Road after all, we know immediately who it was and normally all the details. So quite interestingly enough, you know, it's really weird to explain it to a non-Caymanian, but let me do my best. This island is small. I mean, that's the truth. So when something happens, everybody knows everybody still. And we are, you know, the saying about 6 degrees of separation. Well, we live by 3 degrees of separation. So good morning to Irvlyn. Brandon's here. Siobhan. Thank you, Perla, for acknowledging us on YouTube. She's like, I'm here with the other 18 people watching. Olivia, since I'm here, I might as well start the IG channel. Because, you know, they're over there going, we always get left out. We're like the step kids that you just don't want. So let's at least start that feed. That feed is quirky because it stops after an hour anyway. And I have to look and see when the hour has passed. Sonia's here. Good morning. Marshall, Olivia. Thank you, Perla. Andy, good morning. So, yeah. So, you know, Cayman is extremely small. So 6 degrees of separation on this island is more like 3 degrees of separation. So we all know each other. And when something pops off, such as a murder, we normally know exactly who it is. And so within minutes, it's amazing how quickly people know, because they know people at the scene, et cetera, et cetera. We all have an idea of exactly who it is. Now, sometimes we have learned here in CMR that you still wait. You still don't announce it immediately because more information will come out. There are times when they've confused certain people. You know, so in a situation like this, that first day, there were rumors that a second individual who is still in the hospital, who was shot, that they had also succumbed to their injuries. And a lot of people were messaging me saying, oh, this person has died. And I'm like, I'm not going to report that right now. So let me kind of hold off and see what the real source is. Well, it's a good thing we never said that, because that person is very much alive. So, we have some sources that are more reliable than others. And even our reliable sources sometimes legit get it wrong. It's not like they mean to, but there's now an art that we understand of just waiting. So sometimes you feel pressure to get it out there even quicker, because although we're always the first to get it out there, there's a couple non-media fringe groups, like they only have a social media presence. And so stuff like this now, they'll just post up like, oh, this person has died, this has happened. And, other people are messaging me like, oh, this person has it. And I said, pump the brakes, pump the brakes. CMR now has a reputation that we've built for 4 years. Yes, there are times when we have gotten it wrong in the past, but our objective is to be 99% accurate if we can be. So I can't focus on what somebody else who doesn't even have a media license, who hasn't established themselves, who hasn't worked hard to finally get that GIS card, my dear honey child. That was like getting the American Express black card or something, So those persons don't have any of those credentials. They don't really have to care. We have over 50,000 followers. So I still have to be responsible, and I still have to be very cautious and careful. So that rumor that person had died, the interesting thing about it is the person later on that day sent out a message, I think in a family group or something, saying, I'm not dead, I'm alive. Because it was really like a very strong rumor reverberating all over the place, right? So we waited, and sure enough, they are alive. And naturally, we would not have wanted to even try to correct that situation. The worst mistakes we've ever made here in CMR are not the little details of other stuff that we may get wrong when we don't have the full story. It's actually saying that somebody's dead when they are not. It's just, I can't even express how horrible we have felt when that has happened. And it's happened a few times. And it was like the source was as close, like the source is right next to the dead body telling you, yes, it's this person. And they were just making mistaken identity. It's just crazy. Believe me, it's crazy. So we hold off, but 3 degrees of separation in the Cayman Islands. We now know that it won't take long for us to know who the deceased are. The police will normally take a couple days to disclose that information. So the police have confirmed that Dwayne McLean, 25 years old, has died as a result of the incident at Vic's Bar on Friday morning. Really sad situation. Like I said this morning, a lot of people are saying, listen, this guy's a nice guy. He didn't deserve this. He wasn't involved in this type of activity. And most people are of the opinion, the streets are talking, that he actually wasn't the intended victim at all. But when you go in there with an automatic weapon, you just spraying the place, it appears that your victims might not be chosen quite so readily. I was watching a YouTube video last night about the gang warfare in Trinidad. And this video is at least 6 or 7 years old, so it is dated. But boy, I tell you, when I watched it, it really scared me every single night, like they're having a murder. And, it's called Vice News. This guy went out with them for a ride around the town. And that night they had some guy who was shot like 6 times. And they're like, oh, just another day in policing here in Trinidad. And they were talking about, what's the cause of the crime there. And apparently, their proximity to Their proximity to Venezuela is a major factor. So they were saying that the vast majority of guns are coming in through Venezuela. So because of their position, Trinidad is a transport point to get guns from, or drugs and guns to from Colombia, Venezuela, onto the US and other places. And so again, you know, we have to be mindful of this. I know y'all don't like when I tell the truth on this program, but the truth will be told. Any country who has a proximity to another country that has issues, at some point that just starts to rub off. It just is what it is. That's why when I say things like, we do not live in a bubble, right? Caymanians can't just be like, oh, well, I only live in the Cayman Islands, so I need not worry about anything. We live in a global, we're part of a global community. And so you should be worried, you should care about what is happening. I think I need to adjust the camera just a tad for my Instagram crowd so you guys can see a little bit more of my beautiful flag. Yeah, so you should care because there is a real life impact on you when you are close to somebody, physically close. Whether it's your neighbor next door who is involved in whatever, you know, that impacts you. It impacts the value of your home even, or if it's neighboring countries. And that's one of the reasons why it's easy sometimes for us to think, oh, well, our quality of life in the Cayman Islands is good. We don't have to worry about anybody else. But if you don't understand the need to support other people, you know, yes, when disasters happen, we send aid overseas. Some of y'all get upset about that. Well, why are we sending money overseas? Not only is it the right thing to do from a community perspective, global community perspective, but you are your neighbor's keeper. For no other reason, even if you're just being selfish, even if you don't quite get what I'm saying and you're just being selfish, it is in your best interest to make sure that your neighbor is not warring, is not overly hungry, overly violent, all of those things, because it won't be long before your neighbor's problems start to show up on your doorsteps and they become your problem. So the close connection between Trinidad and Venezuela causes some real issues. And, you know, the gangs are fighting for territory. It says right now that there are over 100 criminal gangs in Trinidad, and they engage in high levels of homicide and violence. And at one point, this country allegedly had only maybe 100 murders per annum. And now that is well over 500. It's probably gone up because, like I said, that was high. That was like 7 years ago. So, you know, this report here, this was done a couple years ago, the impact of gangs on community life in Trinidad. And it talks about as gangs continue to proliferate throughout the Caribbean, there's a pressing need to understand the nature of these gangs and their impact on the communities in which they're entrenched. So, you know, of course, it is predominantly Black communities in Port of Spain area that are impacted by this. And notice what it said about the proliferation of gangs in Black communities and across the Caribbean. So if you guys, again, don't quite understand that there is a connection, right, then I don't even know what to say. This concept of urban gang warfare, you know, Trinidad, Jamaica, now Cayman. It's starting in the Cayman Islands. It's just crazy. So Trinidad has a population of just over 1.3 million. This is of a couple of years ago. And they're aware of at least 100 different gangs. One of the largest gangs, which has some sort of Muslim connection, because, you know, Trinidad is actually the only English-speaking Caribbean country that has a very strong Muslim presence. And there's some scholars that partly blame some of the violence on that connection, but One gang alone has over 600 members, just under one boss. So, the one of the things I found interesting is they say that a lot of these gang members have legit businesses, but they also want to control communities. So in this report here, it says the unusual thing about this particular kingpin, they didn't name him, is that he's also the owner of a car dealership, a job which provides a more than adequate living by itself. So it says the explanation for his involvement in a violent criminal organization seems to be that on top of the monetary incentives, gangs afford a level of power comparable to a career in politics. Isn't this interesting? Where such groups can be the only source of effective justice and social services for the communities out of which they operate. And as a result, crime bosses themselves become a form of community leaders. And it's interesting because the report last night that I was watching, this YouTube report, said the exact same thing. You have people who are having to, in their eyes, take matters into their own hands. And so they see themselves as, being community leaders, being involved in social welfare. So yes, they're providing jobs for the lower class people in Trinidad who would otherwise probably not have very many opportunities. They're building programs, they're doing unemployment relief programs and so on. But with that comes the necessity to control people and to control certain areas. So they become de facto, I guess, gang leaders, and of course their life is always very tenuous. One guy that was being interviewed had said how his car was shot up multiple times and he was fortunate to be alive. And he's always, changing vehicles and so on. They've implemented anti-gang legislation back in 2011 with the Anti-Gang Act, including, I think now they have I need to double check this, but they have I don't think it's a life sentence, but it's a pretty long sentence for just being a gang member. So if they can prove that you're a gang member, that alone will send you to jail. Not that you've committed a crime, just being a member of a gang will send you to jail for a very long time. Now, children, there's an article just 3 days ago asking about in the Newsday, Trinidad and Tobago Newsday, the National Security Minister has said that he has no confirmed data to show that children are involved in gangs in the country. But of course, children under 18 probably are being groomed and have some involvement in the gangs as well. I'm only having this discussion about Trinidad because, folks, if we cannot learn from others, Trinidad, Jamaica, Venezuela, Colombia, other places that have suffered because of the drug business, because of gangs and all these other issues, we will never, ever get any better. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can see a lot of mistakes all over the world of what not to do. And there have been some successful programs that have been successful at eradicating these issues. And we need to now be looking at how to deal with those. So we are part of the transnational drug trafficking ring, folks. Cayman is small, but we have boats coming here on a regular basis. I told you guys last week that people are talking about how you can pay certain people $3,000 to $5,000 to get on one of these illegal boats to come here with a certain degree of frequency. So yes, we need to address border control very, very quickly. We need to deploy every single tactical and high-tech option that we have to keep people off of our shores. Why do we not have a fingerprinting system yet? So that when people come here, we're going to throw them in our jails, take up jail space, but we're going to do it for a couple of years and then we deport them and send them back. And before you know it, they're back again. Now, a fingerprinting system isn't going to help that situation in the sense that if they're coming in illegally, they're coming through a boat. It's not like they're coming through border control. But how a fingerprinting system is useful even in that type of a situation is you fingerprint them initially, take a photo of the eye, scan the eye, and all these other high-tech things that are available, so that when you get them back, although some of them are now tattooing their eyes, can you believe it? But when they come back in, well, gee, you've been here before, haven't you? And then you start to deploy certain things like, you know what? We already have an agreement with the UK that they will take certain criminals. In my mind, our relationship with the UK is what it is, okay? They're in the position of power. We get a couple benefits here and there. If that is a benefit to be able to send hardcore criminals overseas, I think some of the ones that we need to be sending are the non-Caymanian criminals. So if you come here from another jurisdiction and you commit a drug offense, you've landed illegally, all these things, you know what? You're not going to get the luxury of sitting nice and pretty in a Cayman jail, getting 3 square meals a day and 2 snacks in between, having educational opportunities, which we need to talk about because the prison needs to step it up. And all these other things. You should not have all of those benefits. What we should do with them is deport them back to hardcore prison in the United Kingdom. Mama Kingdom, take them, please. And I bet you if we start employing some of these more stricter policies when it comes to policing, we may have some better results. One of the big problems in Trinidad, though, is unfortunately, just like in many other places, police corruption remains a concern. The police know that the system doesn't work when they go through the court system. So the police are more likely to just kill you than even allow you to be arrested and go to court. Because they're like, you know what? You're going to be out again next week. And we're going to be dealing with you all over again. And we're sick and tired of it. So I'm just going to shoot you right here in the spot, take your life, which is completely wrong. And then they move on to the next criminal. And then some of them are involved in the drug business and the trafficking business, and they're on the payroll of some of these gangs and stuff as well. There is a whole slew of literature, academic literature, connecting street gangs to masculinity that has existed since the early 20th century. So we also need to understand, why is it that children even want to get involved in gang activity? What is it about this life of violence that is so appealing to them? I don't think that it's necessarily about it being appealing. I think that when you grow up in a situation where you feel like you don't have any other choices in life, you do what you know. You're on the streets to survive. And so, you do the best you can, I guess, in the circumstances. This is why we can't ignore the circumstances in which children and families are growing up and being subjected to, because they're going to be the next generation of problems. Good morning, Janet. Hi, Bonnie. Marshall says most Caymanians know Caymanians, and if there's a family or a close friend, it gets out really quickly. Elizabeth, Miss Wanda's here. Nathania wants her mug. Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. The mugs have finally arrived, folks. We've been waiting. And they finally got delivered by FedEx yesterday. Thank you very much. So this is our second round of mugs. They are here. On the one hand, we have the cold hard truth. On the other hand, we have CMR. And we still have some pocket sockets. So as long as these last, we'll be putting one of these into our mugs as well. So I know a lot of you want mugs, and I'm going to do my best to get them out. We've got a distribution point in town that I'll tell you about a little bit later on. So probably I've already got a huge list of people who are looking for mugs. So probably the best way to get a mug from me is to simply WhatsApp me, and then we can arrange that. Yes, Jonathan? Good morning. Good morning, Miss Ann. Miss Perla says, my son always reminds me that we all make mistakes. It's okay. I make some too. He's just right about that. Yes. Thank you very much. But we take a little bit more cautious approach when it comes to that. Too much violence in the land. Lord help us. Well, you know what they say, the Lord helps those who help themselves. So prayer is fine, but we better put some action in place when it comes to the approach that we will be taking to resolving some of our issues. And I feel like for far too long, we have been doing nothing but praying. And we see how far that gets us, right? Yes, honey child, y'all love to go to church every Sunday, but then during the week you're living like the biggest sinners in the world. And let us be quite frank and honest. That is, that's part of our reality, but we have to be honest with it. If we can't be honest about the social issues that we have in this country, we will never get very far in terms of a resolution. So thank you. I just saw your message, young man, about the mugs. Not a problem. So my point is we need to get it together. And I think every single one of us plays a part in the solution to these issues, right? So first of all, if you are a parent, your number one job is to raise a child that can function in this world. You don't subject your children to abuse. You don't subject them to an environment whereby they are being neglected or they have no other options in terms of who they're able to hang out with except other kids and, who can't guide them in the right way. I think all of these things are extremely important. I have one child, and this is how I see it. I only get one shot at this. I can't screw up this one child and then be like, maybe I can take somebody else's child and raise them properly. No, you get one chance. Giovanni, Alexandra, Caricia, Sean, Vision Media is joining us on Instagram. Tarsi, Maria, Marion, Nicola. Good morning to all of you. ICL, Nilda, Catherine, who else is here? Devon, Mel. Good to see you guys on Instagram. Azzy, Antonio, Jonathan, Jesus, Amira, Pamela, First Lady Kathy. Hey, First Lady Kathy, I recognize you. What's up? Look at that pretty face. First Lady Kathy and I need to talk. She's going to be doing some interviews for CMR. She's got a beautiful interviewing voice. Mark, Jarique, Sim One and Only, George Dunn, hey, Grace, Gabrielle, AJ, Jazelis, BP, some of these Instagram names, Miss Dorothy Davis. Hello, Miss Dorothy. Joy is joining us. What is that? Jody Mimi C. What? Yard memes. Says, I think Cayman jails are way too nice for people. They will kill you and go lay down there. Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the problem though with the whole jail situation. You can't legit say to people, we're going to send you to jail and then treat you like shit. Those days are long gone. Yes, partly because of human rights. But the other thing about jail life is treating people really, really poorly in jail doesn't solve the issue. They come out worse than they were when they went in. And this is why you have to understand that even with prisons and jails, the 1930s and 1940s, even probably up to the 1970s, when they took that approach to jail life, it didn't deter criminality, let's be honest, because the crime kept increasing. And what you do is you create a subculture within the prison system where you have criminals in jail who are learning how to be better criminals, if there's such a thing. There is such a thing. And then a lot of them are wielding power from within the jailhouse. In my mind, and the evidence shows, you have to be prepared to give these guys an alternative option in life. Okay, so you've been gangbanging. You go to jail at 25 and 30. You're still pretty young. So you're going to get out probably in 5-10 years. And I do agree we need to let them stay in a lot longer. Now, I believe in minimum sentences. But the reality is at some point they're going to get out. And they've already had children and their father and children. And now you're leaving an entire generation of young children without fathers because you have to incarcerate their fathers. And what do you think that does to those children? So rehabilitation, rehabilitative style programs, training them in a skill set where they have options in life, all of those things are critical and part of the solution. So I know, trust me, there are times I feel the same way. I'm like, throw them in jail and lock them away forever and throw away the key. But the sensible part of me, the educated part of me, knows that that's not the real solution. Just like the police and these other countries who think that shooting a criminal and killing a criminal is the way to go. Well, you might eliminate that one criminal, but believe me, there's 20 in the line waiting to take his place. So, early intervention programs. The best way to prevent a problem or to deal with a problem, to handle a problem, is actually to prevent it to begin with. Honestly. Don't allow our country to become a cesspool for criminals when we actually have an option and there's something that we can do about it. Yes, it's going to require investing in early childhood intervention programs, investing in teen moms, ensuring that they have the support that they need, et cetera, et cetera. But the alternative down the line and the price that we're going to eventually pay pales in comparison. It really does. And so you make the investment at this end, or you make it at the other end, and then the price to pay is going to be one that you can't even begin to truly comprehend. That's the thing about it. All right, let's take some of your comments, good folks. Big shout out to Miss Jackie. Neil, did you guys read or watch the video interview that we did with her last night? We toured her facility there in West Bay. She has taken a dream of hers of creating a group home for the mentally, people who suffer from mental issues. And she has made this a reality. Now, listen to this. One woman with limited resources, because she had suffered this situation dealing with a son who had mental health issues. And she knows how overwhelming it was, how difficult it was, because he was in Jamaica trying to get treatment, to try to travel there. There were times that she couldn't afford to do it because you've got to pay for ticket and accommodations and all these things. And there are people who started to support her in her journey. And one day someone planted the seed in her head of Cayman needs a group home. Now, you guys know that in the Cayman Islands, we've struggled with the government stepping up when it comes to mental health, and all of us have been probably woefully disappointed. That has not yet really come to fruition. But you know what? Here's a woman who said, I'm not going to sit down and wait on the government any longer. I'm going to set up a foundation, get experts on board, and Dr. Lockhart, who's a mental health professional, and others, Rotary, these organizations have gotten on board with her because she had a vision. She put a plan together, even identified the property that could be used for this. And big shout out to the former owner of that property, who was even willing to sell it to her, Mr. Peter Kandaya, no, my apologies. Mr. Peter Kandaya is the person who purchased the home for this organization to be able to have the group community home. Miss Jackie didn't have the money. I'm sure she's got a mortgage of her own, child. She didn't have the money to go get another home. Someone stepped forward and said, I want to help. I will purchase the home. Lots of professionals are on board with her. The facility opened yesterday. So the grand opening was on Saturday. Again, if you guys did not see the video, please, we posted it on Instagram, not Instagram, my apologies. We posted it on Facebook, and we've also posted it on our Facebook channels. What did I just say? We posted it on Facebook and our YouTube channel. So please go and watch the video. It shows you how one person can indeed make a difference. Just a vision, a dream, and it can be done. And Jackie is a shining example of when you are motivated to do something, as the saying goes, Aunt Lottie's pearls of wisdom, where there's a will, there's a way. She used to say that all the time. In other words, you start with the desire to get something done. If you don't have the desire, there's probably a million solutions out there, but if you're not motivated to find any, then it's all for naught. But you have the willpower. There are very few things in this world that can stop you once you are determined. That's the message for all of our young people. You know, there are obstacles in life, things you have no control over. Can you control the environment you're born into? No. But if you have the desire to do things and to make a better life for yourself, trust me when I tell you, it is more than possible. So big shout out to Miss Jackie and her entire team. Thank you to Mr. Peter Kandaya, who purchased the home. They had the grand opening on Saturday. I missed all of the formal part of it because I was actually in the BRAC. So I did not get back until a bit later on, but I was still pleased to have literally run to the event as I got in. I'll put the link here in the comment section for you guys. And I was able to do a tour of the facility because I think it's important for us in the community to see what people are accomplishing and what people are doing. And if you have a loved one who has suffered with mental health issues, you will know the struggle of them transitioning from a program and from getting psychological help back into the environment, back into your homes. And oftentimes, as Ms. Jackie said, the families themselves need a break. They need support. It has to be immensely taxing to have to be the caregivers and the loved ones of people who suffer from mental health issues. Seriously. I have not had anyone in my close family like I've had to deal with one-on-one, but I have seen fringes of it and I know how taxing it can be. Any caregiver, whether the person has a physical, psychological, emotional issue, it's very taxing on those people. And those people sometimes drop down dead from stress before the person who they're taking care of. So thank you, Ms. Samuel. She said Ms. Jackie did good. And she'll need a good security system in place. The Cayman system, don't see her because she's trying and they should be the first to want to help her. Well, I must say that she has indeed, gotten a lot of community support. She has said that, people have called her and they've come by and they say, what do you need? One guy has donated an entire CCTV camera and all these things just because they saw that she's doing something wonderful and they wanted to help. So Ms. Samuel says that you raise your child the best you can, and then they leave your house and go out there and still make you the parent look bad. Well, that is true, I think, up to a certain point. But in all honesty, this is just my opinion. You guys can tell me what you think. 99.9% of the cases, bad seeds, bad plants don't come from good seed. What I mean is there's something going on in the home environment that has allowed these children to become rogue children. Not to say there's not those exceptions to the rule where a parent has done everything right. But you see, sometimes people think that they're doing everything right, and they're actually not. Overcompensating because you didn't have something in your life and giving your child everything they wanted in life and spoiling them rotten with no boundaries, no rules, and no limitations. That's not going to give you a good plant at the end of the day, a good child. That child's going to have issues because they grew up being a narcissist, not understanding that, son, there are rules and limitations in this world. You don't get to demand anything. You have to work for it. And it starts with just little things. Like, trust me, I'm so conscious of it because I only have one child. Sometimes I think to myself, like when she says she wants something, I say to her, but do you need it? You have so many toys. You've got an entire room that's your playroom. How many children have a playroom? Soon that's going to be converted when she starts real school to your study and your mini office because you're going to be up in there doing your homework and studying. But she's only 4 years old. But you see, this is what parents do. Oh, the child is only 4 years old. And I want to compensate and give them what I didn't have in life, right? I grew up as a poor kid in Georgetown kicking around rocks. I waited till I was in my 40s to be able to have a child to give them a better life. I personally did not want to have any children out of wedlock or an absentee father. So I waited and I kissed a lot of frogs. Boy, did I ever. And I waited and I waited. There are men out there who'll be like, oh, I'll give you a child. No, thanks. I'm not interested in you being a sperm donor because you already got 50 children out there. And you don't got a job to support a child. You don't have a profession. You don't have anything that's going to bring any value to my life and by extension to the life of my child. So why do I want to get pregnant by you? Oh, child, please. Women, make some better choices. We've all made our fair share of mistakes, but trust me, don't pass those mistakes on to your children. And so even in the present situation, I'm trying to give my child the best possible life. And so every time she's like, oh, I want an LOL toy. We're like, oh, she's just so cute. And then I slap myself and I'm like, do you know how mommy gets money to buy you that LOL toy? She doesn't have a concept of money, really. She's like, no, I just want it. Well, there's a lot of things in life that I want. Right now, I want a new car. And guess what? That ain't going to happen. So we want things in life, but we have to learn self-control. We have to learn how to delay gratification. This concept of instant gratification is, you may not know this, but this is something that I read that I find very, very interesting. One of the earmarks of someone who's going to be successful in life, like a Don Seymour kind of success, a Bill Gates kind of success, like really at the top of their game, is people who understand the ability to delay gratification, instant gratification. If you're someone who has no self-control, and trust me, I struggle with this because I'm a person who just likes to get things done. I'm like, let's do it right now. But if you don't understand that, hold on, pump the brakes, you need a moment to plan and you have to build. And growth and building takes time. Nothing happens overnight. You can't just have it by snapping your fingers. That trait is something you need to develop in your children. And your children aren't born with it. You have to teach them to wait. No, you can't get it today. Say no to your children. As much as it pains you and as many tears as you're going to have, and they're going to try to make all kind of arguments with you. I try to engage my daughter when she says that she wants something. And I say, why do you want it? I just want it. That's not a reason. Yes, we all just want things, but that's really not a reason. Do you know mommy has to work for that? She's heard of Mall Road. But I'm like, do you know mommy has to work really hard to buy you that LOL doll? And that mommy and daddy has other bills first? So you won't go for anything that you need. You will have food. You will have clothes. But these things now are not a need, they're a want. And so we have to prioritize our wants. We don't get everything we want. Right? When she starts to have a tantrum, and boy, let me tell you, before she was even in the toddler stage as a baby, she had a little fire in her belly. I don't know where she got it from. Now, I know y'all gonna be trying to blame me, but I don't know about that. She's a little, she would get really upset. I'm like, do babies go on like this? Like, why is she crying with all of the peas all over her mouth? I have one picture. It's so cute now when I look at it. But in the moment, I was like, this child, what is going on here? She was just having a moment. She even ended up biting her lip or something because she was just, and I was like, you know what? Baby, take your time. You're going to have a lot of tantrums in life, and you're going to have a lot of moments when you're probably not going to be happy with me. And I'm just going to let you have a moment. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to jerk you up by your little pampers. I'm not going to be beating my child because I'm supposed to be the more intelligent one here and the bigger one here. And there has to be other means of dealing with misbehavior than physical violence. So you take a moment. You want mommy to hug you? What's really going on here? And you know, babies are so amazing. Like young children and babies are so amazing when it comes to their needs. So many times my daughter would say to me, and she does it even now, she'll just say, I need you. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean for a 3-4-year-old? I need you. They just physically want you to sit with them. Give them a hug, hold their hand, spend time with them. And when a child tells you, I need you, you need to listen, parents. So we've made a lot of mistakes with raising our children. Some of us, including myself, are products of parents who were not together, broken homes, and all of these sorts of things. And if you don't understand the implications, the real life implications of that sort of thing, and how it can damage a person, trust me, we all need parenting classes. We all need child psychology classes. We've just got to break the cycles that we have already started to engage in the system. So Ms. Samuel says, what about them MLAs? What about them? I mean, there's the question I would ask. Specifically, what about them? I mean, I don't know. Some of them have failed their own children. And by extension, they have failed the community as well, but we keep electing them. You know how that goes. So I don't know. We're getting live reports now that there's a police car and ambulance zooming in and out of town. Someone is asking me what that's all about. I don't know, child. Not yet. I'm sure it will come to me here. But, Elix says, speak the truth, Sandy. Good morning. Vernita Joy Santa's here. Good morning. So each of us, I think, has a real job and a real role to play. I'm always shocked and surprised at people that I see who think that they're parent of the year or parent of the century. And I've seen it even in my own family. And I look at this person and I'm just like, how can you be so delusional in life? Like, you failed your children. You were out partying and the children at home by themselves. I mean, just because you show up to one PTA meeting, you're like, oh, I'm an expert. Who is this? Ahijah, Elijah. People, please don't try to spam our comment section because you will be blocked and deleted. But you know what I mean? The delusion is real. They go to a PTA meeting, they show up. Well, I've got all the solutions for everybody. Honey, child, please fix your own household first. Sort out the problems with your own children. Stop leaving your children unattended. because they are self-raising themselves, and older siblings are trying to raise older siblings. Please, I'm begging you, as parents, do your part. If every single parent did their part, the burden on the state and on the government to solve our issues would be much reduced. Let's put it that way. Good morning, Devante. All right, folks, I mentioned that mugs are here. Let me pull up my mug list. Now, I'm not coming to mug y'all. I'm coming to give y'all a mug. There is a difference. The mug list. Where is it? Big shout out to folks over at Home Gas. Where is my mug list? Ooh, I gotta find it now. Let me do a little search here. Mugs. There we go. Mug list. Got it. Okay. Ooh, I got a long list of people, child. Florita, Miss Beulah, Clint, Debbie. Ooh, the list is growing. All right, so let me add a few more to my list. Okay, Karen Bennett, I gave your mama your mug last night, so I can take you off the list. I got Rosie, I got Charm, I got Sarah, Kimby, Valda, Carson. Ooh, the list is long, honey child. So I'm going to add a few more people to the list. Oh, Blake and Aaron. I have your mug. Yeah. I'll give them a mug. Who else? Oh, Miss Pat. Okay, let me put this name down. You're on the list. Oh, thank you so much. My little cousin here just sent me a quote to say, to know is not enough. One must also do. Bruce Lee, what a wise man. Yes, you may. So Rachel's out of quarantine. She's supposed to get a prize and a mug. So let me find out where she's at today. We have, I'm going to give the premier mug. Do you think I should give the premier mug? Wayne Panton? Why not? Yes. Nathania, are you on my list already? All right, let me add you. Shall we? I'll be giving out mugs for days. So listen, this is our second batch of mugs that we have ordered. And we will be giving out these mugs for free. This might be the last batch that we can do for free, but we will be doing so. So I'm just adding to my name list here. Let me see who else I've got on my list. Aliano's in the UK these days. All right, let's talk about the Graves situation. Miss Joy needs to get a mug. Yes, honey child. Oh, I had you on the list already, Miss Joy. So you're on the list already. Ann Rice, you better message me. I got you on my list. Gabby. Yes, Rosie. Charm. Let's see who else. So yesterday morning, I was telling you guys about this situation with the grave. So someone brought it to my attention and said, listen, they were out there digging up the grave yesterday and they were moving these graves. And I thought, oh Lord, what is this all about? So strange. So it's really, really strange. But the government, the NRA, has decided that they needed to move 3 graves in a plot of, I think I counted probably closer to 20 graves. It's a small private family grave site. And, they made this decision a number of years ago. And so yesterday they finally decided to pull the trigger. Now, this is not being done without objection. And I cannot for the world of me fathom why it's even being done. So we went on location yesterday. I'm sure you guys saw the live stream that we were there for. Yes, Jasara, let me put your name on the list. Jasara, WhatsApp me your number. So I went by there, and you know what? Every single day I pass that grave site, and I can honestly tell you, now you all know I've been back in Cayman for donkey years. Morning, Marcia. Been back for donkey years, and I can honestly tell you, I do not recall ever seeing that grave. Isn't that weird? Every single day. I came back in 1996. What year are we in? 2021? How long is that now? That's been a long time. And I pass that area every single day because I have lived. Well, when I first came back, I briefly lived in West Bay. So that's what? Oh my God, that's 25 years already? Are you kidding me? Lord have mercy, time flies. Jeez, some peace. Whoa, I can't believe it. So say, I think for maybe the first year I lived in Cayman Kai. Oh, that was super interesting. Nothing was out there. That was even before Grand Harbor and all that kind of stuff. So you'd buy ice cream at Foster's, and by the time you get home, it would have melted already. Anyway, so I lived in West Bay. So say the first 3 years. So for the past better half of 20 years, right? I have lived on this side of the island, Newlands, Lower Valley. And I cannot recall ever seeing that gravesite. It's just so weird. It was just tucked away. Anyway, the gravesite is there. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Alexa. The gravesite is there, and yesterday we were alerted during the morning show that they were literally there digging graves, and we went, and they've already put in the ground, I guess 6 feet down, because there are regulations about how to dig a grave and all that kind of stuff. They put the cement casing in. It's just so weird that you're going to move people's remains. And there were people who were objecting to this early on, including Miss Berna Murphy-Thompson, because I think some of the people there might be related to her. I know one is like a in-law or something. So listen, as soon as I found out about this grave situation, I went on the location because I needed to get a visual, you know? Like I said, I pass it every day and I'd never seen it. I was like, what is this place? Alexa, good morning. Since you keep interrupting me. Born on this day in 1940, and also to his beloved Star Trek character, Jean-Luc Picard, born on the same day 365 years later. I recommend celebrating with tea, Earl Grey, hot. Alexa thinks she's funny. Alexa, volume down. No. Alexa, stop. Because you're now interrupting my show. She's trying to take the show over. So I needed to go and get a visual of this situation, right? And so I went and I looked at the grave, and oh my gosh, you know what really touched me is that there was a little child buried there. That's not one of the ones that they're going to move, but there's a young child there. And, you know, being the nosy person that I am, after all, this is Mall Road, I started to read these names and think to myself, who are these people? I want to know. I don't visit graveyards often. I don't even go to funerals often because, trust me, I find it very difficult to go to funerals. But I am curious. I saw these names. Some of them I didn't recognize. Some I'd heard before, but it's apparently another person with the same or similar name. And so I automatically, as you saw as I was filming it, became curious. Who are these people? What's their life story? What's going on here? And so right away, I had Mr. Richard Arch reach out to me, aka Dick Arch, and he's a wealth of information. Trust me. He's a walking historian. And I got a phone call when I was at the doctor's office, so yesterday I was out running around delivering a few prizes. So please remember that if you want a prize during our anniversary special, I'm trying to get all these things out to you. Just nudge me. One person had donated some Foster's gift cards, and they just got them to me over the weekend. So there was a little bit of delay with that. So I think Mr. Don and a few others want some Foster's gift cards. Please message me so I can arrange to get those to you. Every day I'm in town and I can just, run a few errands and get those to you. And the person, because they were a little bit late getting me the gift cards, was gracious enough, thank you, Mr. Saunders, to actually give me a few extra gift cards as well. So if you know of anyone who is in need and could do with a little bag of groceries from Foster's, please message me. We only have I think 4 extra cards, but do message me. And I would, on behalf of Mr. Saunders, who's made this donation towards our anniversary collection, I will be happy to give them a gift card so that they can buy some groceries. Maybe they need something for the kids or for themselves. Also, a big shout out to Miss Irma from Miracle Brokers and Aeropost. They sponsored a number of the prizes that were won during the anniversary celebration as well. So just nudge me, send me a message, but I am going through my list because I did write everything down, trying to get to everyone. So Aliano says that if I'm going to give Wayne Banton a mug, I better give one to Alden too. Miss Emma, you don't have to purchase a mug. Atlas, all the way in the UK, and wants a mug. Let me see how that can be arranged, Atlas. It's probably easier to get it from the manufacturer to send it direct, but let me see how that can be done. So someone has just messaged me so that they could do with a Foster's card. Okay. Congratulations to Miss Jackie. Good morning, Odette. Vernita says, thanks for my chocolates, Miss Sandy. Now I'm awaiting my mug. Had I known they were coming, they were delivered yesterday late in the morning, I would have just waited and brought you at the same time. I mean, I could have saved myself a trip, right? Miss Wanda says your life is no longer yours when you have children because it's all about raising that child to be decent, productive human beings. Absolutely. I agree. Miss Jackie wants a mug. Definitely. You have my Alexa swearing you, says Elizabeth. Child, I think everybody got an Alexa these days. So Atlas, we just had someone said that they're going to be traveling to the UK shortly from Cayman. So depending on where you stay, they might be able to get you this mug. Well, it'd certainly be easier to ship it within the UK. So Atlas, let us know where you're at in the UK, and we'll get this mug to this young man who will then bring it to you at some point. Next. All right. So listen, government made a decision to move the gravesite despite the protests because they say they need what would only be a couple feet of the roadway. So they're intending to dig up 3 graves. One for a person whose name I had not recognized. It looked like a European name, and turns out they're actually Polish. One is a Eden, and then one is a McCoy. So some people are thinking maybe these people don't have family anymore to really object to this, but I understand that there were objections, and the government still decided to proceed with the objection, with the objections being laid before them, which I think is quite interesting. Okay. So Mr. Bernard Watler actually reached out to me yesterday as well about the graves. And he says, I've been meaning to get your number. And I finally got it yesterday because I want to tell you who these people are. So I had the opportunity to interview both Mr. Arch yesterday and Mr. Watler. And what an amazing day I had. Caymanians, you talking about y'all don't know we don't know who we are. We don't have a history. What's a Caymanian? All this kind of foolishness. Let me assure you that Caymanians have a rich history. We mightn't like to talk about all the parts of it, but we have a very rich history, and there are people who know it. You might not know it, just like I don't know a lot of it. But we are a culturally diverse and rich people. So we need to know these things. Oh, Lord, here you know. Something always popping off. So, ugh, these people are so ridiculous. So I got a little bit of a history. We're actually going to air it later on this evening. So I want you guys to tune in at 7:30. So here's what we do. We are going to be doing a lot of interviews. This is, during the election, we did a series called Conversations With. We launched it during the election. At first, we were only doing candidates, but this series will continue. As long as we have people who want to talk to us, it will continue. It's called Conversations With. And it's like we go to these people in their homes, in their businesses, wherever. And we sit down and we have a conversation with them. That's why it's called Conversations With. And it's so interesting to learn about people's lives. So this isn't like during the election, it wasn't about the politics. So we did Alric, we did Sabrina, we did the Premier Wayne Panton. We did a Conversations With segment with Kathy Wilkes. Who else did we do? We did Ozzy Bodden. And it's about getting to know the person, who your mama is, where did you grow up, what were your circumstances in your life, the whole shebang. And we're going to continue these conversations with people in our community. Miss Annie Moulton. I have a whole list of people that I want to interview. And if you have anyone that I probably haven't thought about that should be on my list, please let me know. Now it's going to take some time, y'all. This is going to be a labor of love, but I tell you what, once they start talking, oh my gosh, they are full of so much information. Yesterday, I was like, even when the camera wasn't rolling, I'm like, why did I stop the camera? We need to continue. Like, oh, amazing. I was so impressed. Someone just said, it would be amazing if you could do interviews to learn about Cayman history. Well, that's what I just said. That's what we're going to be doing. That's exactly what this is. I mean, it's just amazing information that they have. Now, lucky for me, both of these men knew members of my family. So Mr. Bernard Watla, he's like, oh, I knew your dad. I was good friends with him. He was always building something. I said, really? I mean, he was a mechanic and he did go out to sea and that sort of thing. He said, yes, he was always building something. He can tell me some funny stories. Like the day he came in, he's like, the doctor told me I have gout and I'm going to stop drinking rum. Well, one thing, if you don't know anything about my father, he loved to drink. So much so that as I reflect on the little that I know about that aspect of his life, I kind of think that maybe he actually had a problem with alcohol, in all seriousness. And it's one of the reasons why I do not drink, none at all. Because I think that if you have a family history of addiction, or you think someone might have had addictive tendencies in your family, I honestly believe that a lot of times those things are genetics, pure and simple. You have an addictive personality, so you got to be careful. Of course, you can be addicted to other things other than alcohol, including food and sex and all sorts of other things. But I've just never been inclined to drink any alcohol. So Mr. Bernard was telling me one day my father walked into his shop and he was getting something to build something again. And he said, man, the doctor said I got to stop drinking rum, because it's impacting my gout. But he said he never said anything about gin. So I got a case of gin in the car. I was like, legit, that really sounds like something my father would have done. Like he's going to be very precise. The doctor said, he didn't say no alcohol. No, he said no rum. So I won't drink rum, but I got gin. And I'm like, isn't gin like just the same thing pretty much as rum anyway? Like, what's the difference? Miss Magdalene said Mr. Niels Godfrey. Okay, let me put this down here. Wanda says the oral history needs to be recorded. Well, that is exactly what I'm trying to do. We don't have no fancy equipment. Oh, yes, Miss Georgette is on my list, child. I do need to reach out to her. I tried earlier and I didn't have much success. The Seafarers, Rosie, you're definitely on the list. But yes, I have a limited budget. So I'm working through it as best I can, but I have a long list of people. And they're all in their 80s, so time is of the essence. So you'll see when you watch the video at 7:30 tonight. There's nothing fancy about it. And I was just like, listen, these men were at home relaxing in their what do you call the little shirts that they wear, the little undershirts? What do you call the little undershirts that men wear? Anyway, both of them were relaxing at home in the same little undershirt. And Mr. Arch had his little dog. Oh, she's so cute. Oh my goodness. Anyway, it is what it is. And I said, don't worry about putting on no fancy shirt. You don't have to dress up for CMR. Marinas. Thank you, Brandon. Why couldn't I just think of that? And don't put on no shoes. Don't worry yourself. I'm just here for the conversation. The show is called Conversations With, and I'm interested in what you have to say. They have collected historical things. I mean, Mr. Bernard was an only child, which I think is very, very interesting. And he had some plates done in Japan when he was traveling at a very young age of his parents and him, with their photos and stuff on it. I mean, it's just, he has like the old style telephones and a picture. Listen to this. A picture of the church that was there before the Emsley's Church, Memorial Church that we now know. Remember a couple months ago, I was talking about the history of Emsley and how first it was something else. And then I think that got washed away. He has a picture of that original church. I'm just like, wow. Literally, I was in like heaven talking to these men yesterday. This is our culture. This is our history. And I think part of the problem with us is that we have lost, there's been a real disconnect between the generations where maybe that hasn't been fully passed on. And so, as a result, we are losing a lot. We are a very rich people when it comes to history. And, Mr. Bernard said something to me yesterday. Oh, you got to be able to pick sense from nonsense, as Aunt Lottie's pearls of wisdom, pick sense from nonsense. Let me tell you something. I was saying to my cousin Beth yesterday, when I hear a little nugget of something that I think, on the one hand, it's words, but on the other hand, words are so powerful. So while I was speaking to Mr. Bernard yesterday, he said, off camera, he was talking about different things, and he said, prosperity has made Cayman poor. And I was like, what? Mic drop. Do you understand what the man just said? Prosperity has made Cayman poor. Wow. Those are some powerful words if you really understand what is being said. Our own success story is what has made us poor. Overinflated property prices where nobody can buy anything. Insurance for those properties that is going to run you into the thousands of dollars every single year. I thought, my God, I could do a whole series on how prosperity has made Cayman poor. So, I was jotting that down in my little notebook, child. Miss Joyce Sand says Mr. Arch in Sunday school knows so much. We always enjoy his knowledge. Good morning, Miss Donna. Brian says she's the one who suggested Miss Georgette. Thank you. Jonathan is saying, how about getting Dart on the show? Okay, well, what do you think Dart has to say to us? That's interesting, Jonathan. Magdalene says that is a joke. Perla, don't forget you with your mug. No problem. Natasha says gin doesn't have rum in it. I mean, gin doesn't have sugar in it. Yeah, Sue, we were just talking about the graveyard. So at 7:30 tonight, I want you all to mark your calendar. I'm going to upload the video here shortly to premiere at 7:30 p.m. It's an interview with Mr. Richard Arch in the first section, and then Mr. Bernard Watler in the second section. And they are sharing a little bit about the history of the people, like how they know who's in that grave. So please don't miss that out. Here is what I think we need to do. Now, I don't know what's going on with the NRA, and I don't know who made this decision, what NRA board made the decision, but this is now the power of the people. Okay, here's my suggestion. Now, you know, Alden be blaming CMR for everything. According to him, he lost the government because of CMR. You people are the ones with the real power and the real voice. And so my recommendation is we need to either petition this government like ASAP. We need to protest by the grave sites. So I don't know, shortly after, I mean, when I got there yesterday, they had stopped the digging. So it's a private company. Nobody's blaming them. They're just following instructions. But we need to tell this government, this is a new government. The PAC government is supposed to be a government for and by the people who should be listening to the people. There's not a single person that I've met yet who has said that they want these graves moved. In fact, Miss Joyce said Mr. Yurt was a joker. He'd make you laugh. Miss Beverly messaged me. So in fact, folks, one person reached out. Let me just see if I can find this message real quick. And I'm going to tell you guys about this message because they were telling me about some of the people, I want to try and make the name right. Farrell. So listen to this, right? So incredibly interesting. I never knew anybody with the last name Farrell. Like I've never even heard of it, but people like, yes. And I got a little bit of history. So one young lady reached out and she said, this is what she shared with us. She said the grave or family, some of her family members are there, and NRA decided to make new ones above my father's grandmother and grandfather, and we were given zero notice. They're making new graves to move the road side ones. Carlton Farrell is my grandfather. Next to him is my grandmother, who is Elvira Farrell. Next to her is my dad. I think it's Montreal Farrell. And next to my grandfather, Carlton Farrell, is my great grand uncle. That graveyard is our family private cemetery. And I said, well, how on earth can this be done? The person says, no idea. They said that they need to move the ones closest to the road. No one has come forward as we don't know who they are. So it looks like, although this is a family plot, there are people who are in it who are not part of the Farrell family. So I don't know how they got in the same grave site. I don't know exactly how that worked. But they're going to move these three graves closer to their section and place them next to my grandmother, father, and grandfather. And those were the tombstones next to the Carltons. That's my granny and daddy. And first of all, moving them right next to our family where we didn't give the okay, as we would love to go there. We'd love to go there way down in the future next to our family. So apparently they have plans to add people down to where you see they're putting in the new where they're moving the graves. So I'm thinking that's encroachment on those poor people, and the right for other people to be buried next to their loved ones. This person says that they've written to them And that they find this unacceptable, and they've gotten no response. So I understand this person says that as for the pharaoh, myself, which is Etty and Gustavo, a brother, are the only two left from this line that carry the name. Oh no. Oh my gosh, I didn't even see this part of the message. Our Uncle Carl Farrell was the pedestrian that you reported 3 years ago that had gotten hit in front of his home in Lower Valley. I remember that. Oh my gosh, he says talking about this just brings back such bad memories. Listen to me, NRA, find another solution. This isn't it. This isn't it. Do not move those graves. Seriously. You're going to gain what? A foot of roadside? How is that going to help traffic? Find something else. Find another way. This is ridiculous. Lord have mercy. Ay, ay, ay. Government, you can do better. Now we've just received a video, so I'm actually gonna reach out to the NRA today. I've not had an opportunity to reach out to them yet. Someone says that Monty worked Cayman Airways for years. I'm hoping that the NRA will come to their senses. I don't know if this was a board decision, as this was a departmental decision. I don't even know. But I think it's a very poor decision. Ricardo says that building's taking up a lot of space. But the poor grave is like squished in between, you know? They should have thought about all this before they approved all those developments in the area and increase in traffic. Instead of thinking, oh, we can just move dead people because who cares about dead people? People care. That's their loved ones. It's highly disrespectful, in my opinion. And like I said, I've not met a single person yet who has said that they're in agreement with this and that this should be done. Nobody agrees. Nobody. Now, meanwhile, in Northside this morning, we just received this video that Emperado is moving sand from Northside right now. Now, I don't know what he's building, but I'm sure he's putting up some big to-do situation again. But when you start moving sand, are y'all getting permission to do this? Let's have a look. That is a mound of sand with a big backhoe. Where's he moving sand to? What's going on in Northside? Why is this man digging up a beach? There's a huge mound of sand there. We need some intel. Please advise. Purple Rain says, yes, you said it right. Farrell is not Farrell. Okay, listen, I totally had it wrong yesterday because, like I said, I've actually never seen or heard of the name before. So I did have a good friend call me and say that it's a strong A. So it's like Farrell. And what was I saying yesterday? I don't even know. But don't mix me up now because I'm saying it right. Don't confuse me because I might start mispronouncing it again. Not on purpose, but you know how the brain is, right? But yes, thank you. Lewis says the Farrell's history is part of Pedro Castle. Miss Kathy, I need to speak to Miss Kathy and Olivier. We've had them on the show before. They do a lot of work as it relates to genealogy in the Cayman Islands and how we are all related and all interconnected. Lorna says this is a signature of this particular developer, who incidentally is Caymanian. He encroached on the South Sound Cemetery to build that huge one literally on top of it. And now he's building literally around the Dixie Cemetery on North Church Street. Just look, all the same developer. It's a shame when the dead are not free to rest in peace. Elizabeth says we need to arrange another protest. I'm beginning to wonder. Dionysia says, as a Caymanian, we can't live good in our own country, much less be buried in peace. Now it seems so sad. Even in death, we get pushed aside. Isn't that interesting? It is very sad. So it was part of the CPA's approval for the condo project. Well, I'm sorry, but somebody needs to reverse that. Why hasn't anybody legally challenged this? So it's private land. Somebody else said that they thought grave sites were crown land. No, this is actually a private family plot. So government doesn't own this land. Now, mind you, government can up to a point take property, I guess, compulsorily, but you know, this just isn't right. Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for that additional information. Ay. Natasha says, didn't the former CPA board and DOE said that they couldn't remove the sand? It was in the papers a couple of weeks ago. Well, I don't know what's going on here, but they're clearly moving it. Yes, someone just sent me this that says the controversial request by Joe Imperato, the developer behind the Rum Point Club in North Side, to move a large pile of sand excavated from the site to his new development in West Bay has been partially declined. What the hell do you mean by partially declined? This is a situation where you make it very clear. You say yes or no. However, the original requirement that excavated sand be returned to the North Side site has been changed to allow it to be moved to another location in the district. Okay. Following a CPA meeting in May, a decision was made by the board to allow the stockpiled sand to be distributed across several nearby parcels, as the members said that complied with the development and planning regulations. DOE has raised concerns regarding the original request to move the beach quality sand to West Bay for proposed artificial beach at Dolphin Point Club, because this is an Irish-owned coastline, not a beach. What the hell? Y'all just want to take over Mother Nature. Money doesn't get you everything in this world. Leave Mother Nature alone. Beach quality sand is a rare commodity on island, and the use of such sand in artificial areas would not be an appropriate use, the department said, and they urge the CPA to ensure that the sand remained in the ecosystem from which it was taken. Since consistency, composition, and grain size, it is largely known to be compatible with the marine environment in that area. Somebody with sense. Thank you, DOE. The sand will now be distributed across 4 other beachfront parcels in the area, and planning officials explained to CNS, this is a CNS story, shout out to Wendy, that the decision was a modification of the construction operations plan. The sand has been taken from the beach at the location of Rum Point Club and stockpiled on nearby parcels where it will now remain. Okay. Yes, child, he does own a lot, Imperato. After the application to move the sand to West Bay was made by the owners of Rum Point Club, the new owner of the neighboring lots where the sand was located had approached the applicant to purchase the sand in order to beautify the lots. The planning official explained. The CPA determined that it was acceptable as there was no place left on the original shoreline to deposit the sand. So he's going to deposit it on adjacent properties? Let's see what we can find out about this situation. Hmm. Mm-hmm. What a mess. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Mr. Pinay says, I say it all the time, and I'm going to say it again. Cayman needs an update. We need something. Pete, Top Shata, Bigga Smith, Daniel Escobar, Nathan, all joining us on Instagram. Carlos, Andy, Badonna, not Madonna, Badonna. Marilyn. I guess we need some more information. Jeff says there's no need to move those graves as this is not where the traffic problem is. What they need to do is focus on getting the road finished by that equestrian place. Oh, speaking of that, Jeff, I understand that they can't get those people to move. And they are not going to be moving. So I don't know what they're going to do with the equestrian site. Isn't it funny how an equestrian site can tell you, well, they're not going to move. You can't compulsory take their land. But yet the poor graves you're going to go dig up. I bet they got underpaid for the land too. Charlie probably not paying nobody. Purple Rain says it's the Tampa accent, laughing out loud. Is Imperato not the main sponsor of the Minister of Planning? Asking for someone. The main sponsor shouldn't be. So our sources say that he's actually trucking it somewhere unknown. It has to stay within Northside, though, unless he is in breach of the order. Well, Mr. Imperato, I'm sure one of your friends, family, colleagues, lawyers, somebody is listening this morning. Inquiring minds would like to know where you intend to take the sand, because if I'm reading correctly from this CNS article, which was just a couple days ago, July the 8th, it says that this sand was to be distributed on the adjacent properties. So I'd like to see this order, because to me, if the order says adjacent properties, you can't be trucking it all over Northside either. Now, this is a good point. The DOE has just explained something to us. And I think more of these government agencies need to do a better job at educating us, the people. Because, I've never even thought about it, that the sand in 7 Mile Beach is not the same sand that's in Northside. It all looks the same to my little toes when they're walking on it. But in fact, the sand can vary based on the ecosystem, and it supports different types of sand flies. I don't know what's in the sand, crabs, turtles, whatever. So that's something to consider. That's why you can't just transplant stuff all over the place and think that it's going to work. Peterkin says, I've worked in properties in Jamaica where graves were exhumed to build hotels. And a lot of strange things happened afterwards, even people losing their lives. You know what I told y'all yesterday? I don't mess with the dead, I don't leave them alone. You want to hear something really bizarre? Yesterday I was talking about this stuff, a little bit of extra celestial stuff. And I was talking about my sixth sense that I have with certain things, ESP, whatever we want to call it. And someone said to me that their little dog started barking uncontrollably at me on their TV and wouldn't stop until they turned the TV off. And this is a dog who hears me every morning, so it's not like my voice was anything new to the dog. The dog's probably normally bored by my show. And all of a sudden yesterday, just as I was having this particular part of the conversation, this dog just started to go a little bit crazy and was barking at the show. So they had to turn the TV off and take the dog outside before they could turn it on to continue watching. I'm just saying, just a little quirky. I'm just sharing it with you. Yes, Peterkin, to your point, though, you got to have respect for the dead, even if you didn't have respect for them in life. My God. So Sue says the land is privately owned. That's correct. The graves of Hazel Brown and Genevieve Pauling are mother and daughter. They lived in Florida. Hazel was a Farrell. Now I'm confused. Farrell. Strong A. Farrell. Not Farrell. Farrell. I understood to move a grave, it had to go through cabinet, but I may be wrong. Well, we're going to get to the bottom of this because I don't think it should be done. Thank you, Miss Lorna. You see? So the horse place isn't moving, but government's going to purchase land across the road. Chat, please. They do compulsory acquisition from who they want. My apologies. I've got an itch, and you guys know I have these wonderful back scratchers, which we were giving away, folks, during our anniversary. Get yourself one. They're wonderful. East End sand is full of plastic. Oh. Jonathan says, you know what they say, it's cheaper to pay the fine. Aha. Then ask for permission and getting told no. This is where we need to make the fine something to be remembered. You should have no planning. Like anyone who does something and then seeks planning permission, especially these big developers after the fact, they should be slapped with $1 million fine. And then you know what you do with that money? You put it into a gang prevention project and youth programs. Start to make them pay for their audacity, for their utter disregard for the law and for nature, and their just rudeness when it comes to ignoring the CPA and planning. Yeah, somebody's asking, what if turtles are, this is turtle nesting season, who knows? Now, this is a mound of sand, to be fair to them, that had been sitting there overgrown. Let me show you a picture of what it looked like before. So I guess at some point it was pushed there and made this big mound. It looks quite high, actually. And then I guess now Emprado's building something, only God knows what. And he wants to move it out of the way. Let me just see here now. So he wanted to truck it to another one of his properties on West Bay Road. Imagine that. Okay, that's it. Big mound of sand. And the adjacent property owners, I'm sure, would be happy to pay for it. But boy, greed is a hell of a thing. People think they're going to take the money with them. You know, that's what I'm convinced of. Good morning, Eddie. Last time I checked, you can't spend it in the afterlife. Somebody else will be enjoying your money when you're gone. Elizabeth says 7 Mile Beach is now 5 miles thanks to some of these developers. Good morning, Sanya. Says Mr. Carl used to work at Peter Castle and he's buried there. And his brother Monty that used to work at Cayman Airways, who's family to Anthony Eden. Yes. Yep, they used to live right in that area. Thank you, Purple Rains. Al Ray says, agreed. Make the developers pay a significant fine for proceeding without planning approval to send a message. We have a new CPA board finally after like donkey years. Let's see what they're going to do. Valda says these dumbass greedy developers are here to ruin this island and everything on it. Well, they're here to make a quick buck, and there's a problem with that. Because, you know, this is the end result. All right. Thank you very much for that additional commentary. So, folks, tune in tonight at 7:30. We're going to upload this super interesting video. And again, it's one of many. Nope, that's not the box number. It's One of many to come. Here's a great idea from Edison. The police department needs to do after-school clubs for the youth of Cayman. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. Someone said that isn't Imperato not well and he's continuing to develop? Well, I don't know. John is watching us in the Philippines. Another Jonathan, says it's always been 5 miles CI, which is 7 miles US. Ah, cheeky. Wanda says Cayman government needs to grow a set. And Groven, what is Groven? That's something enforcing the laws of the island. What a hot mess. So where is the pathway, says Victoria, to educate locals in architecture and urban planning? Because barely mentioned in the US, that's how the rich get away with designing that environment. Well, they just do whatever they want, basically, because we don't have a long-term plan. We have one that is like so outdated. Morning, Miss Loretta. Someone says that they hope that they get haunted by Monty until Christ comes if they decide to move those graves. No, sir. Let's listen, folks. Let's organize something and let CPA know that this isn't the way to go. Nobody wants those graves moved. Not a soul. Okay? Don't do it. Anyway, let me just see if there's any final comments here. Let me just check my Instagram messages. Okay, so yes, ma'am. Oh. Anyway, folks, mugs are here. Just a final announcement. So I've gotten a lot of requests for those. So I did tell you guys that the pocket sockets, we had ordered those, and we still have tons of those, by the way. So we'll be handing these out until they're finished with the mugs. So you get a pocket socket and a mug until, I guess, I don't know how many of these. We may have more of these than we have mugs, actually, but we've got a huge mug order. Of course, they don't last very long. So if you want a mug, folks, have your coffee, your tea. You can drink anything out of a mug. Am I the only person who likes to put ice cream in a mug and eat it with one of those super long spoons? I don't know why I do that. I never eat ice cream out of a bowl when I'm at home. I always put it in a mug and I eat it out of a mug. And I love my ice cream to melt just a little bit at the bottom. Super delicious. Yeah, so this is what it is. They're great and they're free for now. The next set of merch, I don't know if they'll be free. So you know what they say. There's hardly anything in life that's free. So get it while it's good. Just message me. I'm going to have a location in town, probably at the Dorsey office, where you can just go and collect them as well. And if I leave them there, only take what you need. Don't be greedy because other people want a mug too. So let's share and share alike. Okie dokie, good people. Miss Joy Elizabeth says the new CPA board got the same influence on the previous, praying we can see a change. Flora says, Miss Sandra, when would be a good time to come by and get a mug, please? What's up, me, Miss Flora? Anybody have email addresses for the premier and secretary? Which secretary? So the premier and all MPs are your servants. You've elected them. And so their email addresses should not be a top secret, nor should their phone numbers. So here you know. Phone is probably not the best way to reach them because I'm sure they get a gazillion messages. However, email addresses. Let me tell you what the format is. Hold on a second now. Y'all get your paper ready. Email addresses are... I'm trying to remember how it goes now. Okay. First name dot last name at @parliament.ky. For example, the premier's email address would be Wayne, WAYNE, .Panton, PANTON, @parliament.ky. And I'm sure the former extensions, which was first name dot last name @gov.ky, still works. I'm sure they've not done away with those. So you've got 2 email addresses for each MP, each cabinet member. Now, if they're a regular MP, they don't get a government email set up, but surely they have had an opportunity to have an office. We're going to start going around to some of their offices, folks. Because we want to see what they're up to. We want to see regular office hours. Now, there's a little bit of we're talking about this young man who died earlier. And there's a $50,000 reward being offered for anyone who can assist with the apprehension of those persons responsible. Good morning, Miss Covan. How are you? She says, what a mess Cayman's in, child. Lots of mess going on. So a lot of people were upset with Cayman News Service because they chose to use this picture of the young man who is now deceased. The clarification that we've gotten on this photo is that this photo is from somewhere in Honduras, apparently. He's got Honduras connection. So there was this photo of him, and there was another one of him with a handgun. Now, the interesting thing about this photo is this doesn't look like it's a home. This actually looks like it's like a salon or some kind of place of business. There's some products in the background. And so even in the context of Honduras, I mean, I guess this is normal in Honduras. I don't really know. To walk around with, is this a shotgun? What kind of gun is this? This is a sawed-off shotgun or some kind of modified shotgun or something. This is not a automatic weapon. Because as again, I'm no gun expert, but I think this is one where you have to pump it each time you intend to shoot it, right? Anyway, so they've used this as the cover photo for their story. And this has gotten a lot of people upset. A lot of people are like, why are you using this of him, trying to paint a certain picture of him? There's also another photo. And I mean, you can't really tell the media which photo to use in these sorts of situations, right? So there is another photo that is in circulation of the young man in his car that some people were having an issue with because he's wearing like all these rings and jewelry and whatever. And they're like, oh, that makes him look like a gangster. Here's the thing. I don't know this young man. I've heard that he was a nice guy and whatever. But if these are the photos that are out there that represent your life, you know, you can't tell media to pick and choose, oh, and pick a family photo with his kids or this one, that one. Okay, if these photos are out there, if they're photos of him with guns, if they're photos of him, you know, with all these rings that kind of has a gangster feel to it, you have to accept that people will pick, especially the media, will pick whatever photo they get their hands on. And the interpretation then is, you know, this somehow represented who he was. Well, maybe it doesn't represent the full story of who he was, but it certainly represents certain elements of who he was. I mean, you don't post this kind of thing on social media if you have no intentions of it ever potentially getting out there. So this is a word to the wise. Right? Know that people will use your photos. In fact, when you go looking for a job now, there are people who scour your social media accounts to see what you're up to. And your social media accounts can tell a lot about you and who you are. Trust me. What you comment and what you say and what you prioritize says a lot about you. And people will correctly or incorrectly read into that, however you want to see it. And it is what it is. So if you don't want in death for these photos to be in circulation of you, try not to put them up on your social media platform. Because once they're out in circulation, then that's it. That's the best advice I got for you, folks. That's it. Other people messaging. This is a message we just received this morning. It said, good morning. Mind, you have to train your mind to be stronger than your emotions, or else you lose yourself every time. I think there are times when your emotions play an important role because we're all human beings, and having a connection to your emotions and knowing how to express yourself. Sometimes you have to get angry. Hello. Y'all know I was pissed off when them people post-election was trying some shenanigans. I was like, WTF, what's going on here? And there was no other way for me to express anger than, maybe a couple of choice words. And there's nothing wrong with expressing anger with your words and in a healthier way. Because trust me, there's much more volatile ways to express your anger. And we don't ever want to get there. That's why I say, let people say what they want to say. Give people a voice. If you want to say something, just say it. You have a right to that in this community. Sometimes you might even use a little bit of profanity. Let them say it, because the alternative might not be pretty. Louis says this is probably pics out there with me with guns, but knowing who I am, someone would know that I'm no gangster. I know, but that doesn't mean, Louis, that there's something to happen to you. People might not pick one of those pictures and say, well, I don't know. Here's a picture of him. I think in the US, it's very different. That's what I'm saying. Put this in context. This was Honduras. So maybe they got shotguns laying around all over the place in Honduras. I'm guessing guns are legal in Honduras. I don't even know. In the US, everybody's got a gun. That's the 5-year-old has a gun. They're sitting there learning how to walk, and they walk around with a gun, killing their siblings, because that's the American way of life, right? So they are a gun-based community. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you can interpret it to mean that he was a gangster. But as Purple Rain said, and this is what I'm saying, be careful what you put on Facebook. It can come back to haunt you and your family. Simple. Good people, I wish you a beautiful Tuesday. Again, tune in at 7:30. Facebook and YouTube will be where the interviews will be premiered. I think you're going to find it very, very interesting. Conversations with relaunched. And I'm super excited. You guys have a blessed and wonderful day.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.